Hi everyone, the first technical issues at the moment I go live. I am just trying to hook my phone to the stand because it wanted to record in portrait, not in landscape. So bear with me for a second while I slide the phone through. All right. Can you guys hear me and see me all right? I'm trying to connect through my iPad so that I can read the comments. Because the moment I sit down on my chat, on my desk, I will not be able to read the comments, obviously. So that was my iPad. So I'm connecting and hey Laura, nice to see you here. Hi everyone. So hopefully my iPad will work and I'll be able to read your comments as we go. All right, so let's start. The stamp that I'm using today is a freebie by Whimsy stamps, and I have a link to it in the description box if you want. Also on my Facebook page, but it's pretty easy to find on the Whimsy stamps website. I'll just move my mat because I don't like seeing my desk. Anyway, it's pretty easy to find on the Whimsy stamps website. I stamped it on some Neenah Solar White 110 pounds cardstock, and I use a Canon Pixma. So it's an inkjet printer, it's pretty inexpensive and it works great, especially with alcohol markers. So yeah, that's what I've used so far, and then we'll be doing some coloring with my Illustrator markers. Before I start, I just want to take one tiny second to figure out if I can actually read your comments during the chat. All right, I managed to pull it up. Yes, Laura, it is a really cute stamp, and it's really fun. Like, I don't know. Hey, Didi, hi. So nice to see you too. I wanted to find something funny, this a little bit related to the current situation, but I wanted something upbeat because the reason we are here is to smile and chat and craft together. Anyway, I think we can go ahead with the coloring, so we'll start. And yeah, this is actually my very first live I do. I did one on Instagram some time ago, but this is the first one on YouTube, so you guys let me know what you think about it. So I'm going to start by first blocking in the shadows using my BT1 marker, and I am going to add my shadows like I do pretty much all the time, as if the light is coming from the top left of the screen. So we're going to have the shadows mostly on this part of the image, and then we'll have cast shadows too, but one step at a time. So let's start from the face. As I said, we'll have a cast shadow here where the toilet paper is sitting on his muzzle, and then we're going to have a shadow here. And I am trying to follow the direction of the illustration so that I create shape and volume with the shadows. So this trick with blocking in the shadows with your lighter marker first, hey Didi, thank you, is very useful, because if I place a shadow in the wrong position or if I give it the wrong shape, then I can always correct either with a blender or simply by going over it with a darker marker, which is what I'm going to do anyway to deepen the shadows, right? Because this will be the lightest marker in my palette. Antonella, hi, ciao, how are you? Nice to see you here. So I'm planning to have a second live on Facebook tomorrow in Italian too for my Italian crafty friends. Antonella is one of them, and she's the one who encouraged me to do this live video today. We were chatting and she was very sweet, so it inspired me to do this. I've been thinking about doing it for a while, but yeah, this chat today was the motivation I needed. Anyway, so I'm going to add this first layer on the whole image to block in the shadows, as I said. We have one here on the right part of the arm, because again we have the light coming from right here. the arm is casting a shadow on the body, and also the paw is casting a shadow on the body, and then we extend the shadow a little bit, again to create dimension and volume. We have the tail here at the back, adding the shadow right next to the body and on the lower part of the tail, and then again we have a cast shadow by the toilet paper, and I'm reading the chat and you guys are so sweet. Anyway, cast shadow by the toilet paper, and here just a little bit of a shadow at the tip of the tail. His toes are kind of rounded, so we're going to follow that shape with the marker to create, again, to emphasize it basically with the shading. Again, there will be a cast shadow under the paws because they are protruding with respect to the, I mean under the toes, I'm sorry, because they're protruding with respect to the paw. And then again here we have the shadow on the right portion and on the lower portion of the paw. Same goes here. And how are you guys doing? How are things where you're at? I guess we're all in a very similar situation, and I hope you manage to find nice ways to spend your time and to still be upbeat. I'm doing a lot of crafting, a lot of binge watching. Actually, if you guys have any suggestions for things to watch, they're more than welcome. And I'm also listening to lots of audiobooks. Okay, back to the card though. I was thinking, yes, Antonella, it is very cute, and I love the funny sentiment too. So one thing I can do now, like the idea is to go with BT3, and then we'll have BT5 and BT7 for sure, possibly BT9. The more shades you use, the more dimension you'll create, the more interest you have. You've been organizing, Didi. I cleaned up the craft room before the live because I needed a bit of a clean space to be able to do this. Otherwise, it's kind of distracting to be in a messy environment. But I haven't been organizing much. And by the way, I just realized that I missed a leg here and a little bit of his body here. So what I was saying is, I have multiple shades, and what I could do is I could go with BT3, so with the next darker shade, and then go all the way to the darkest and then back to the lightest. But to keep things a little bit faster, what I will do is I will go in with my BT7. So it's not the darkest marker that I want to use. I have the BT9 as well, but it's a dark shade, so I'm already starting to add darkness to the image, and then if I need to create more contrast, I can always fall back on my BT9. Laura, you're working from home and you prefer crafting. Yeah, I bet. Yeah, we are in lockdown too. My husband is working from home as well, so yeah. I mean, it's a good thing that he's actually able to work from home. I think it's maybe it's a privilege, I want to say. So anyway, coming back to the coloring, as you can see, I'm adding my shading with my BT7, but I'm not going all the way. I'm not covering the entire areas that I blocked in with my BT1, because I like to take it slow and to sort of do it in steps, so that I can always go back in case I went too far, and I can see how things go. I can see how the piece comes together in small steps, and I have enough time and room to kind of go back if I see that I'm not going in the right direction. I hope this makes sense. Alright, so again here going over the areas that I have on the arm, trying to color and read your messages. I'm really glad you guys joined. I've never been to Canada, by the way. I see both Didi and Laura are from Canada. I would like to one day to visit. It's a huge, huge country though. Maybe I'll have to go for multiple trips. One thing I've been loving to do, as I was saying, is to listen to audiobooks. Like, I'm a big, big Harry Potter fan. I don't know about you, if you like the series or not, but I basically subscribed to Audible a few months ago just for the purpose of being able to listen to Harry Potter audiobooks. And I've been binge listening to them, and actually I am on the second rerun. I'm listening to them all over again. It's kind of relaxing and it keeps me company while crafting. So it's, I don't know, it's a nice escape. Oh, thanks Didi. One day, one day. Alright, so at this stage I have my BT7 everywhere on my image. No, I don't actually. So almost everywhere. And then the next, the next step is to take the next lightest marker and to blend that out towards the highlight. And that is the BT5. Oh, thanks Antonella, I'm glad. It is very relaxing to color. It's really my happy place. I sometimes wonder if I include too much coloring in my videos, if it gets a little bit repetitive or boring for you guys to watch me just color over and over again, but I love it so much. It's, yeah, so, I mean, I think you'll see more of it on my YouTube channel. Oh, thanks Laura. So as you can see, there isn't a ton of contrast between the BT5 and the BT7 at this point, and that is why I kind of had already foreseen that I was going to use the BT9, because I've been using this color combination already like quite a few times on my cards and projects, and so it was kind of expected and planned. But in general, this approach of going step by step and maybe adding more contrast later, I find it safer and easier for me, because you are in control of the process at all times, if you know what I mean. Oh Didi, really, my voice is soothing. I'm kind of self-conscious, I guess it's the same for everyone, but it's so weird to listen to my voice in recordings. Like, it was a little bit, I don't know, cringy at the beginning, but yeah. Anyway, it's something you have to get used to if you want to make YouTube videos, but I haven't after, like, I think it's been 3 years now on YouTube. Who knows if I ever will, but I'm glad to know that that it's soothing to listen to me speak. Alright, so the next color is the BT3, and I'm not going to cover the entire area. I'm still leaving some space for my highlights, and as you can see, I'm trying to follow the shapes of the image everywhere in order to, again, help convey the shape and the volumes in the image with my shading. I also, I recently got an art journal, you guys. Oh, thanks Laura. I'm very glad to hear that about my voice. It's strange, you know, like I make my videos and I have fun and I love it, but it's kind of difficult to figure out, I wouldn't say the quality of the content, but how it's perceived rather, obviously. Like, you guys always comment a lot and I appreciate it so much. It's great for me to have some feedback, because it helps me find the direction for the channel and for the content I put out. But it can be somehow puzzling at times to figure out where to go. Oh, my aunt is online too. Ciao, ciao zia. Here is my highlight marker, the BT1 marker, and I'm going to fill in the areas. So for example, at this stage I can already see that there isn't a ton of consistency, in the sense that on this paw here I left a lot of space for the highlight, whereas here I left a little bit less, but these are things I can correct as I go, so that's why I like to go in with multiple layers and add again color like in 2 or even 3 layers sometimes, depending on the size of the image, because as I keep coloring and as I have a bit of a more complete vision of what I'm doing, then I can sort of correct things here and there. For example, this nostril, I haven't touched it at all. I need to add some more shading here to create some shape, and that's something I'm going to do with the second layer. Anyway, while I'm coloring, I was telling you I got an art journal. I got the Ranger Delusion ones. It's the 5x8 one. I thought it was the right size for me because I haven't done art journaling ever, and I'm used to card making sizes. Oh, I love my Illustrator markers too, Laura. I love them. Like, I will stick to them for a long time. So yeah, I got this art journal, and I'm really excited to start and give it a try. I love watching Vicky from Clip and Cuts. Her videos are amazing. She's very sweet. I met her in Phoenix. She was so friendly. So yeah, like it's another like experiment for my channel and for my crafting. All right. I just read this comment saying hi to my aunt. We are very close, my aunt and I. Alright, so at this point, as I said, I want to add a little bit more contrast. I could stick to this color palette. I think we have some nice shapes and some nice volumes going on at this point, but I think the more contrast you add, the more interest you add in an image. And like if you keep your dark areas to, like your dark markers to confined areas, then you won't make your image too dark, which is something that is definitely impactful, to have these very deep shadows, and I love seeing it in other people's art, but I like to keep my images brighter than that, so that's why I am adding my BT9 to like very narrow areas around my image. For example, here on the nostril, I'm not even adding it on the nostril itself, just around it as a cast shadow, and here where there is the opening of the nostril. Here, I don't know if you can see or if the camera is too far, but I'm basically extending the lines a little bit, and you can add detail to your images like that, sort of extending lines. Like there isn't a lot of space here, but you could do it around the muzzle too, for example. I will maybe show this in other videos with other images where it may be a little bit easier to understand what I'm saying. Antonella, you really have to try them. I have tried Copics, and I mean, of course they're great, but I don't think Illustrator markers have, like, they compare very nicely to Copics. The brush nibs are great. I love that they're refillable too, so whenever the marker runs out, you can just refill it and you don't have to buy a new marker or a new set of markers. And the price point is great compared to Copics especially. Again, not to say that Copics aren't a great product, but I'm very happy with my illustrators. When I first tried them, I was so excited. So yeah, I've been using them like probably 90% of my videos. And actually, do I use them a bit too much? Should I use like my pencils a little bit more often, or are you guys happy with the variety on the channel? Yeah, Didi, you can, sorry, sometimes I stop because I'm trying to read the chat as I color. You can definitely start getting a few illustrators, like they are sold also individually as well as in sets, so it's your choice. Like maybe if your other Spectrum Noir markers start running dry, you can replace them with illustrators, because you can, like all alcohol markers, you can blend them with each other and they will work fine. I don't know if you have the older Spectrum Noir markers, like I have those as well. The ink formula is slightly different, so the new ink formula blends even more easily. It's definitely a big improvement. And yeah, like as I said, you can use them together. So if you're curious, you can get yourself a couple of illustrators and start mixing them up and see how you like them. Because I also know that some people don't really love brush nibs. So, you know, you can try with just a few. Alright, so it's now time to start. We added our darker shade and now it's time to start blending again towards the highlights. So after the BT9 we have the BT7, and so we are going to start blending everything out. And I always try to use flicking motions even in these small areas rather than going with straight lines. I find it easier to blend when you use these little flicks. I did use straight lines with the BT9, but that's just because I was trying to really add them to very narrow areas, and so adding the flicks wouldn't have allowed for that. But other than that, I find that flicking the brushes, the nibs of your markers helps getting a nice blend. Oh, thank you, Laura. As I said, coloring is really my favorite thing to do. Yeah, so Didi, if you don't love brush nibs, do maybe try the ones with illustrators, because you know, the ones that are on the Illustrator markers, because they are different from the Copics ones. They are, I find them a little bit more springy, they have a little bit more give, but that's my personal impression, I don't know. But Spectrum Noir has released like a ton of new markers. They also revamped the original Spectrum Noir markers, now they're called Classique, and they share the same ink formula as the illustrators. So you can use them together and the colors will be the same. Some of the colors in the new ink formulas are slightly different, like the LV2 for example. It's a little bit different, and I think it's an improvement over the older color palette, although they're very similar. Maybe once I'm done coloring, I'll show you my marker swatches, because I created a couple of pages that I printed out where I swatched all my markers, and I actually have them next to me as I am crafting even now, because they are a wonderful resource to get an idea of what your markers will look like. So again, here I forgot the BT9, but it's not a big deal, because you know, we just go back in. I don't know, that leg, I keep forgetting about it. I don't know what's with it. Oh, my mom is also online. I involved all my family in this. So again, BT9 and BT7 on this part of the leg, and then I'm just debating whether to extend it a little bit up here, following again the shape of the head, and raise it a little bit here, like so. If we add a little bit of shading around the eyes, it will look like they're protruding with respect to the face. So we can play with shading also in this way, creating new volumes that are not in the image, in the illustration. I will show it, Didi, I will. Just once I'm done with the coloring. So then we have the BT5, again blending everything out with the flicking motions, and I am extending it a little bit further, always being careful not to eat up too much of the space, because we want to get 2 more shades in, right? We have the BT3 and the BT1. Again with the flicks. Do you guys like to work with digital stamps? I found recently, I think it's been around the web now, probably if you're in one of the card making groups on Facebook, you will have seen it too, but I found a wonderful artist. I think she is Spanish. She's called Maria Medel or Medel, I'm not sure how to pronounce it exactly, and she, like, the style of her illustrations is great. I got a few digis from her, and digital stamps are great because they are so inexpensive, you don't have to wait for them to ship, and they're fun to use. They're a good alternative to physical stamps. I will always use my clear stamps because I love them, but it's nice to change, like in this case. Sorry, I got distracted with the chat. As I was saying, I'm using this Digi stamp, and it's really fun. And you can, you can resize them. You can create little scenes, print them out, and just get coloring. Which, if you haven't figured it out, is like my favorite thing to do. So yeah, point being, I found this new artist on Etsy. She's fantastic. And I was thinking to make an art journal with one of her digital stamps. And I was also thinking about making a video on how to use digis. Maybe that's useful. Alright, so now we are adding the BT3, and again trying to blend everything as nicely as possible and leaving a little bit of space for the highlights. Antonella, you're way too kind. There's so many talented people out there. I should really be learning from them. One other thing that's that can be a great resource these days to to get some distraction is online classes, right? I know Kitten Clouder has many. Sandy Allnock. One day I'll take one of her classes. Well, one day I'll take them all. But what else? Online card classes is launching a new class right now. So with Jennifer Maguire, Christina Warner. I wanted to take Kathy Rakusen's one too. It came out maybe a couple of months ago. It was like she does these road trips, right? And this was kind of the online version of the road trip. I was curious. She's a great colorist and a really fun person. I met her too when I was back in Phoenix, and she was very nice. So yeah, have you taken any of these classes? Oh, Didi, you're very kind. Okay, so I don't know if I said it, but I guess it's clear that I'm now adding the last layer on the body of the dragon using my BT1 marker, and I'm blending everything together, making sure that I get a smooth gradient with as little streak marks as possible. And then for the body, so for the belly, the scales, the horns, I'm not sure yet, and these parts of the paws, I'm going to use some yellow greens, so a bit of contrast. Let me just pick up the markers because I had a different idea at the beginning. Thanks guys, you're very, very, very sweet. I was saying I had a different idea for my color palette, but we'll change it. I wanted to use some bright pinks, but I think it's a bit too much in your face if I do that. Alright, so I'm taking, so for my yellow greens I'll be mixing color families. I'll be using CG1, CG2, and then I like to add some shading with AG1 and AG3. Alright. Yeah, this dragon is very cool. There is also, but I think it's not available as a Digi. It's available as a rubber or clear stamp, I'm not entirely sure, also by Whimsy Stamp. It's pretty much the same illustration, but instead of the toilet paper there is an egg, and the dragon is hatching from the egg, which is really cute. Alright, so again we are going to first block in the shadows with my lighter marker, the CG1, although I might introduce a yellow, we'll see. But again, so we have, let's straighten the sheet, we have the light coming from this direction, and the shadows will be then on the right and lower portion of the image, and I am also adding them not only to the right of each of these scales, I guess, I'm not sure what the correct term is, but also on the bottom, because this will give the impression that they are curved, so that they have this rounded shape. And this is another example of creating volumes that aren't necessarily there, because if I had just shaded the image with the shading on the right and just the bottom here, you wouldn't have gotten the feeling that these are individual sections as much as in this case with this type of shading. Hey Denise, hi, thanks for joining. Alright, a little bit of a cast shadow under the neck, and then for the scales it's very easy, it's just on the bottom and on the right, on the bottom and on the right, and here is instead this the part that's against the body, because there is a cast shadow from the body and on the right, along the body and on the right, and here is the same on the lower portion and on the right portion, and here too. This section here is kind of small, so we are going to be a little bit more loose with the shading, and here we are going to add kind of a C shape to render the roundness of this part of his paw, and here again we have the C shape, but then we have the cast shadow from the toilet paper. Hey Tiffany, hi! Alright, then like I did before, I'm not going to go in with the AG3, which is the darker marker I have, but I'm going to go in with the AG1 and then decide as I go whether I want to actually darken the shadows as much, so with the AG3. Going on the same areas, here for example I forgot a cast shadow. Anyway, going over those same areas, not covering the entire part that I have colored, and then we'll blend everything out with the mid-tone marker. One other thing that I've been doing is a bit of an exaggeration because I started yesterday and I did it today too, but I've been taking advantage of the sunshine. We have a small backyard in my house, and I've been going out like just for half an hour in the sun. I don't know about you, but for me the sunshine is something that is a huge mood booster, so I think I'll make it a habit. Hey! Sintang, I hope I'm saying your name right. I'm sorry if I'm not. Nice to see you here. How are you? So the next step is to blend out the AG1 with the CG2. And I really like this color combination with the contrast between the teal blues and the yellow greens. It's I used it like quite a lot before, and I love the way it looks. Tomorrow I will be doing kind of the same live, but on Facebook and in Italian for my Italian crafty friends. Sometimes I do manage to upload some content in Italian here on my channel, but not as much as I would like to, and so I thought it would be a nice idea to do this live once again for them in Italian, but on Facebook this time. Once I'm done with CG2, I'm going to bring in CG1, and at this point I can see that I don't have a lot of contrast, not as much as I would like, so I'm not going to go all the way. I'm not going to cover the entire areas that are left white with my CG1 as much as possible. Obviously on the scales it's going to be a little bit more tricky because I'm going to bring in yellow. One thing you can do is you can use this tip in small areas, because this is a precision nib. It's rigid and it's quite fine. The tip is quite fine, so you can use that in case you have to go into these like nooks and crannies or very small images, and that helps. How did you learn Italian, Didi? I think you told me at some point in one of the comments. I'm sorry if you did, but I'm curious. It's not a language that a lot of people learn, so yeah, I like this color combination too, Laura. Alright, so next is LY2. Do we want to do that? When I don't know if I want to do that, I take a scrap piece of paper and I put the marker down on the paper. And I don't want to do that because I want something a little bit brighter. So I'll take CT1 or CT2. So like I could in principle pull in my swatches, right? But having the color, just the one that I'm using right next to the image, helps in seeing how it will go with the image. Didi, you're Italian. I didn't know. Where? Like, if you don't mind. Aha, I see. Oh, I had some relatives in that region. So I'm bringing in the CT1, which is a nice light and bright citrus yellow to fill in the highlights. I've never been to Teramo itself, but I've been to Abruzzo a few times. Have you visited Italy? Thanks, Antonella. Yeah, this dragon is really cool. Oh wow, Italian literature. Then you have a lot to teach me, because I studied science. I studied astrophysics actually. So yeah. Anyway, back to the image. Because again, I don't have as much contrast as I want, I'm going to go in with the AG3 and deepen those shadows a little bit more. Same drill as before, right? We don't want to darken the image up too much. We just want to create that nice contrast and depth in the shadows, but we want to also leave enough space to have those nice and bright colors. I was reading Didi's comment, she's been to Italy once. Nice. Have you been like to Abruzzo or like, I mean, if you don't want to reply, it's fine. I don't want to get personal if you don't want to. Anyway, again, adding the shadows here to the scales with the AG3. And then we are going to go back in with the AG1. I was just checking that I have all the shadows, you know, that I went everywhere with the AG3 marker before moving on to the next one. And another thing you can do, and I've done it in some videos, I've shown this already, is you can use a pencil. You can use colored pencils to go in the shadows and like very precisely add depth and darkness to your shadows. Again, with with pencils in colors that match your markers. Or even, I think some people even use like a black pencil, but I don't know, I don't tend to use black a lot, like pure black. But another thing you can do instead, while I try and find my CG2 marker, is if you don't have still a lot of markers, for example, you can use grays to add your shading. So here, for example, you can use a couple of shades of green in these areas, and then for the shadows you can use some cool grays or even some warm grays depending on the colors you're using, and add the shadows with those. And you can do that because alcohol markers are transparent, so the grays will not cover entirely your like the colors you have laid down already. Here, like, I had eaten up a little bit too much of the shadow, so I'm coming back in with the AG3. And while the paper is still saturated with the markers, the markers will almost blend without you having to add another layer. Toscana, oh my god, Toscana, I love it. We used to go there on a holiday very often with friends when I was a teenager. Well, no, not really when I was a teenager, a bit older than that, but still, when I was still a young lady. And it's beautiful. The place is wonderful, the people are marvelous, the food, so nice, so nice. And Florence is, I think, is the most beautiful city in Italy. I'm from Rome, so I should advertise Rome, but Florence is absolutely fantastic. So at this point, I'm not adding the CG1. I went straight from CG2 to CT1, which is a yellow, because I don't have a lot of space to work with, and I want to make sure again to have those nice and bright highlights. So I'm just going in with my lightest marker and filling the highlights there. Oh, I haven't been to Capri, but I have been to Napoli a couple of times. So next step is the eyes, and we are going to want to create some dimension and depth in the eyes. I lost the marker. That's not good, but no, it's here. Yeah, Florence is wonderful. Florence is absolutely fantastic. Cool grays to shade white. I'm going to use 2 shades at least. So starting this time with the AG3 directly, because this is pretty straightforward, I would say. The shading of the eyes. Again, we have the light coming from this direction, so I'm going to add a shadow here where there is a shadow being cast by the muzzle, and then here, because of the light source, this is the part that is furthest away from our light. And as you can see, I'm following the shape of the eye again to create that nice volume. Thanks, Antonella. And then I'm going to blend that with IG1. And like when you blend white, don't be afraid to use a bit of darker shades. So here I think I'm going to add an IG5, because every color you look at is seen by your eyes and interpreted by your brain in relation to the colors you have near it. So for example, if I had used a blue in here instead of a green, the teal blue would have felt greener than it does now, because teal blue has a bit of blue and a bit of green. So when you put the green next to it, it will emphasize the blue part of the teal. If I had put a blue, you would have perceived this as a bit of a greener color instead. Thanks, Laura. Yeah, that's the point, to give it that nice round shape. That's what we are attempting. So as you can see, IG5 is not a very light marker, right? It's quite dark, but I'm adding it very sparingly, just at the very bottom here of the eye and on the right, and I will do the same on the second one. And it will add dimension, but the eyes still look white, and you know, because we have that white area that we left on the top left portion of the eye, but also because everything around the eyes is significantly darker. Thanks, Sintang. I hope you're enjoying this. Like, I'm trying to explain everything as I go and keep this entertaining. this is definitely something I can do more often. It doesn't have to be focused on coloring at all. It can be just making a card together. So let me know if this is something that we can do regularly, not just as an escape these days. Anyway, the next step is to use my colorless blender to make sure that I have a smooth blend between my cool grays and the white portion of the cardstock. Here I'm trying to push a little bit of the teal marker that had bled into the white. And then it's time to decide what color to color the horns. What do you guys say? I'm undecided at this point. Should we go for green or for warm grays? Thanks, Simona. Okay, let's I'll use some warm grays for the horns. Oh, good, Laura, we agree. I didn't read your comment. All right, let me pick some. And how do you guys store your markers? I have a very handy tool storage solution by Spectrum Noir. Like they have the they have the trays. I don't know if you know them, and they also came out a few months ago, I guess. Bo is sorry, something we say in Italian. It means I don't know. Anyway, like there is like a bag you can tuck your trays in, and it's very handy. I'll show it to you one day. I don't know how to do it now. Maybe I can link it in the description box down below once the stream is over, so you can check it out if you're looking for a nice marker storage solution. This is good because it's pretty mobile. I have it on my Raskog cart, you know, those IKEA carts, and I can move it around my desk. Again, here I blocked in the shadow with a BG1 marker. I'm being a bit of a chicken, I have to say, because I don't know how dark I want to go, so I started from the lightest possible marker. Anyway, let's go in with the BG6 and let's see. So here again we have the cast shadow from the toilet paper, a shadow here because of our light source, and then the horn sort of bends onto itself, so we have a little bit of a cast shadow here, and then here too. Yeah, it's quite comfortable. What do you think, Didi? How do you like it? I like the fact that you can then put them in this bag, which has also pockets for inks, like for crafting on the go. Don't really go anywhere. I don't craft on the go, but it's handy anyway. Yeah, so for the right-left horn, I always confuse right and left, we have again a shadow on this part of the horn, one here that is cast by the body, one here because the horn is bending, and one here because this is the furthest part from the light source, and then here again we emphasize the bend with a bit of a shadow. That was BG6 if I didn't say it. And then we have BG3. We're just blending everything out very quickly. And BG1. Another reason why I like to add multiple layers usually is because when you add the lighter markers, because of the nature of alcohol markers, they will kind of bleach out the colors you have already. So if you can see, the BG3 is almost gone, like you can barely see it anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it back in. And here I went a little bit out of the line, but it's not a problem. Here too. It's not an issue at all. We can either, well, I'm not going to cut the image along the lines, but definitely you can either use a gel pen or just use the blender to push it back. So after I go in with the BG3, I can go back in with the BG6 and deepen those shadows a little bit more. And I'm also going to go in with a BG8 to make them even darker, just in very specific areas, so not everywhere. So normally, like, I don't really, it depends on the size of the image, but for like smaller images I usually go for 3 markers per color, whereas here we are using even up to 5 or 6, I think, for the teal shade. Because the larger the image, the nicer it is to use multiple shades so that you can get that nice gradient, that nice blend, and create depth everywhere. So 3 is the, let's say it's the minimum maybe. Okay, so let's try, no, oh my god, I was gonna try and fix the here the bits where I went out of the lines with the with the IG5 instead of the blender. That wouldn't have been a good idea, but I can just try and push the colors back with the colorless blender. And again, if this doesn't work, because some markers kind of stain more than others, one example are reds stain a lot, then you can just use a gel pen and forget about it. Alright, it's time of the toilet paper, one of the most like hard to find things these days apparently. Again, I'm going to color it white, which means I'm going to use my cool gray markers to add some shading. And I was just trying to debate whether to use a different color, but we'll go for this one. So again, starting with the IG1, adding shading here, and this is pretty easy in the sense that there aren't a lot of folds or special particular shapes, let's say. So we're just going to create some flicks at the bottom and on the right side of each section of toilet paper. This part here with the bend, we could try and render the bend a little bit. And I will just extend the shadow here a little and then add some more at the bottom. Let's see if that does it. Same here. This part here will all be in shadow because it's in the back. Here we have, we're trying to be precise, so when I need to go in very narrow spaces, I basically use my marker vertical. It's not very nice for you because you can't see, and this is also why I started to use these double angles on my, obviously not on this video, but on my tutorials, because sometimes you can see the tip of the marker when I'm coloring, if I have to be very precise and use this technique where you go head on, like straight on. So okay, again adding the edgy one everywhere. I think I've seen this Digi being colored a lot lately. Obviously it's you know, it speaks to us in a way, and it's fun. And I think somebody colored it with colored the toilet paper with rainbow color, which was very fun too. Yeah, right, Laura is stealing all our toilet paper for no good reason. What's this waste? Like, are you guys able to like easily find food, or are people panic buying where you are? Here it's a bit of a, it's been a hit and miss, but I think maybe things are getting settled a little bit more, like as we all get used to the situation. I do like cooking, so that is also something I'm trying to do in the evening. Yeah, appropriate, that's the word I was looking for, Didi. So, besides my cooking, back to the coloring, it's time to add the shading with IG3. Again, using those flicking motions, that, you know, the principles are the same. I feel like I'm repeating the same thing all over again, but just trying to deepen the shadows without going over the areas that I have colored so far, in the sense that I am reducing the extent, and yeah, the extent to which I am putting down the marker. Sorry, I got a little bit tongue twisted there. Here, trying to emphasize the bend again in the toilet paper. Yeah, so I was saying I've been trying to cook a little bit. I feel like baking, but I haven't gotten around to it. Actually, the first blog I ever opened was a food blog. Well, it was a bit of a mishmash actually. There was also like some drawings I was trying to do, to make, but I figured maybe it's I don't know. I liked drawing. I'm not by any means like super talented at it, but then I found card making and all my other hobbies. Ah, for example here, the shading is wrong. There was panic buying, but food is not so bad. Oh yeah, hand sanitizer. Like, it was crazy because how much, like, I think it was over a month ago, so like it wasn't as severe here in the UK a month ago, but I was following the what was happening in Italy. So sorry, just a second. I am just basically using my blender to blend out a little bit of the shading that wasn't done properly, so that I can make this area a little bit lighter, and then once the blender is dry, once the paper is dry once again, I can correct the shading. So here is an example of why it's nice to start with a light marker. But yeah, like I was saying, like there wasn't anything really going on here. We were all free. There wasn't a lot of, I mean, we were free to work. Nothing had closed. There wasn't a lot of talk about this whole thing on the news, but I was following the situation in Italy, and well, so my husband had to leave, and I do buy wet wipes when I travel by plane, because you know, if you want to have food or something, it's nice to have them, right? And everything was empty. Everything. There wasn't a little thing of hand sanitizer, of, again, wet wipes, nothing. It was really strange to see it at that time, you know, because as I said, there wasn't a lot of discussion. Like, I don't think the government had even said anything at that point. But yeah, so those are really hard to find still. Oh, thanks, Antonella. I'm glad. I am in the UK, yes. I am from Rome. I'm from a small town near Rome, but I left almost 10 years ago, and I've been in the UK since last year. It's a bit over a year. We were in Germany before with my husband, and now we are in the UK. And I like it here. It's nice. People are nice and friendly and chatty, and the language barrier is much less of a struggle. Oh, no worry, Didi, no worry. With the masks, I don't know if people here are wearing masks outside. We live in like, it's not a very central street. It's like a street with houses, and I haven't seen like a lot of people around through the window. It's like I'm not spying on people, I promise, but yeah, so I don't know, like I'm not sure if people are really wearing masks here, but like obviously for people working in shops and stores and drugstores, those are really important now. I have to say that we are pretty lucky in the sense that here, for example, like the online grocery shopping is quite, it works well. Like, we've been able to get our groceries online. It is a little bit harder to find slots, and we've had to maybe like buy stuff from different supermarkets every time, which is not a big deal at all. Like, I know that my parents back in Italy have to queue for a very long time outside the supermarkets to be able to get their grocery shopping done. Yeah. So yeah, crazy times, guys, crazy times. And I thought I would come here and do a live coloring video to chat with you, keep you company, hopefully get distracted, although I guess the conversations today tend to revolve around the same topic, right? I'm also bringing it up all the time, and it was, I kind of told myself not to talk about it, but you know, to keep it upbeat here. But in the end, it's everywhere, right? Like it's such it's in our lives, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked with all this chit chat, but again, I used IG5, IG3, IG1 to color in the toilet paper, and then I'm going to use the blender to blend it out. Okay, I'm going to there and use a little bit of IG7 as well in just some of the areas here. I don't have a nice blend at all. Thanks, Antonella. What do you guys think? So the coloring is almost done, basically. We have maybe 5 more minutes, but, and you know, like you can basically add the drop shadow under the dragon and the card is done. Oh, I'm happy it helps, Laura. I'm really, really happy. So like, we can call it done, or I can cut the image, trim the sentiment, and also work on a quick background if you guys want to. Let me know. I'm happy to go on and take this card a step forward, or we can stop here if, you know, if the live has lasted enough and I would not get offended or anything, I promise. Anyway, so IG7, just very sparingly. Yeah, Antonella is one of the people in the front lines, which have really all my admiration. So as I said, very, very sparingly, because, you know, we do want this toilet paper to look white, but I'm trying to, I don't know, experiment a bit with my coloring and, like, in general, trying to do new things or push it a little bit forward by creating these darker shadows. So there is a great Italian card maker. His name is Alberto Gava. Thanks, Antonella. It makes me really happy to hear that this is relaxing for you guys and that you're enjoying it. That was the whole point. Anyway, like I was saying, this guy, like, he's amazing. Like, if you guys don't know him, check him out on Instagram. If I remember, I'll put his handle in the description box when the video is over. He creates this, like, incredible contrast in his images, and also Rachel, the Unpampered Stamper. She's amazing too. She's a great colorist, and they have this great contrast in their images, and I'm trying to learn from them and to incorporate this a little bit more in my own coloring. Who are your guys' favorite colorists, or, you know, colorists you admire? I'm always looking for new artists to follow. Oh, Didi, thank you. That's very flattering. Okay, then we'll continue with the card. Yay, I'm happy to. Okay, I'm starting to lose my markers. This happens all the time. Thanks, Antonella. It's you know, the more shades, the more markers you use, and the deeper your shadows are compared to your highlights, the more dimension you create. That's why I'm also deciding to use this darker, this IG7 here on the toilet paper, for So to make it nice and dimensional, and also because we have two white elements here, right? We have the eyes and we have the toilet paper. And I want the eyes to be a little bit brighter than the paper because it's where the expression of the character is, right? So I want a bit more attention there, and by darkening slightly my toilet paper, I'm going to, yeah, to give more emphasis to the eyes, I hope. At least that's the idea. Let's see if it works. But still, I don't want, obviously, the toilet paper to be too dark because it is still supposed to be white on this card. Oh, Antonella, thanks. Yeah, Linda, it is, I agree. Hi, by the way. Thanks for joining. Where's my IG3? Here. And, okay, like, my mess is already a desk. My desk is already a mess. I spend more time tidying up than crafting, you guys. It's terrible. I always tell myself I really need to start tidying up after myself while I craft. Like, you know, you use a stamp, put it back in the packaging back in the envelope, and you know, no, it doesn't happen. Piles and piles of crafting supplies, and I only tidy up when I really can hardly bear the sight of the mess in my craft room, because I'd rather craft than tidy up. I am also, because we're talking about crafting, so again, sorry, like I'm chatting and I'm not really talking you through what I'm doing, but because I feel like I have explained it already in the steps before, so I was just basically blending everything out, going from IG7 to IG5, then IG3, and lastly IG1. So again, in order to blend those colors nicely and get those smooth gradients with the colorless blender then. And I don't know, is it too dark, the toilet paper? What do you think? Or is it nice? I need to look at the screen to kind of get a bit of a more, how can I say? I have just the Italian expression in mind. To see the thing as a whole, not to focus on the details too much. Okay, toilet paper is done. Here the openings, they will be in shadow obviously, because that's a hollow and the light doesn't go too much inside. And so when you have something like this, or when you have a teacup, the way you shade this is kind of opposite as you would shade it normally. So if you have a teacup, the way you shade the inside is the opposite of the way you shade the outside. I'll show it with coloring and not with words, because it's clearer. So here we have the light coming from here. Basically what happens is that this part of the toilet paper roll is keeping the, you know, this part of the hole in shadow, and the light is able to come and hit this part. So what would be the furthest away part of the hole from the light source is still the lightest, because it's not shielded by the edge of the toilet roll. I hope it's fine. Yes, chiaroscuro. I hope it's clear. What I mean is clear. So anyway, I'm just doing a 2 marker shading. There isn't a lot of point in doing much more, but I am bringing in a lot of contrast because I'm using IG7 and IG3. Okay, here it's kind of the same, but it's this rim, like this top portion, that is darker, and this one here is lighter, and this one here we're just I'm putting the light here and the highlight here, and here what you would have is what is called reflected light. So obviously this part here is the furthest away from the light source, so it should be in shadow, and actually to be really precise, this part of the toilet roll should also be in shadow, and there should be a bit of a shadow here. Like this should be a little bit darker, but I'm not going to fuss with it too much because it's more important for me for the toilet paper to look white than for me to have like the most exact and precise shading. So anyway, like what you have is it's the light that would be reflected either from the floor or from, let's say, a hypothetical wall on this side of the image would be then illuminating this part of the toilet roll, basically. Okay, so the dragon is ready, right? Am I missing bits? I hope not. And besides dropping things like my markers, what I'll be doing now is fussy cutting it. With scissors I can't find, so instead of doing that I will work on the background. So for the background, the thing that I thought, because I did a little bit of planning also, even if I didn't put everything I need in place. Oh, here's my scissors. Anyway, for the background I want to use the Stencil by Heffy Doodle, and I want to do something super quick. So I am going to create a little bit of a matting. Thanks, Laura. So these dies here are by Heffy Doodle. They are called the Imperial stitched rectangle dies, and they have the stitching inside and outside. I just need to get the largest one, which I have out already. So the largest one is 4¼ by 5½ inches, and then they go down in size. I think this would be 1/8 of an inch, maybe 1/4 of an inch, I'm not sure. But anyway, it's a very nice basic die set, which I use a lot. And they also have the metric the metric version, so for people that use the metric system, like we do in Europe actually, although I always make cards with the US A2 size. You can get the metric version. So Antonella, for example, maybe would prefer that to the Imperial stitched rectangles. I don't know. Antonella, if you're still here, do you make cards with the Italian A4 size or European, or do you use the US sizes? So anyway, like before running this through my die cutting machine and trimming it with my handy guillotine trimmer. This is a bit small for I hope the sound of the plastic is not too annoying. I apologize if it is. Okay, no, perfect. I'm using some Heffy Doodle memo tape. This is pretty great. I love this, and I love purple tape too, to tape my dies in place, because they are both low tack, but so they're tacky enough for your dies to stay where they should, but you know, they're not going to tear your paper once you peel it off. Sorry about all the humming, I'm a little bit distracted. It's the first time for me, so anyway, I'm running everything quickly through my die cutting machine. You'll hear a little bit of noise because it's an electric one. Sorry, like the first time I ever got a die cutting machine and I did my first cut, I panicked, guys. I was like, oh my god, I broke it already, and I think it's everybody's reaction because of like that quite loud cracking noise. Okay, so that's not normally how I roll, but in the sense that I would like to... Oops, I cut myself, sorry. Sorry. I don't know how Probably I've been washing my hands too much, I don't know. Anyway, let's ignore that for a minute. And no, I think I'll do it landscape. Yeah, landscape orientation. With the dragon will be on this side, and the I've got you covered on that side. I'm also lazy, Antonella. I'm also lazy. I don't make envelopes. And yes, like I use the A2 size because, as you said, most of the dies rather. So, very quick background with Distress Oxide sprays. I hope you don't mind the cut on my hand. I don't know what to do about it. I really apologize. Anyway, I'm taking Distress Oxide in Picked Raspberry. Yes, in Picked Raspberry. And also, maybe we'll see, in Warm Lipstick. Anyway, these are super fun to use with stencils. They create very easy and very quick backgrounds. My last video, I have a background where I created, the last that came out of my channel, I have a background that I created with Distress Oxides, with Distress Oxide sprays, and it's really fun. I'm putting my microfiber cloth here just to protect the area and my iPad where I'm watching the live video, and then you want to shake them like this. So they have some little like steel balls inside, and you want to shake them really well before you spray them. Yeah, this is a pretty stencil, Didi. This is also by Heffy Doodle. It's pretty cool. I love this kind of doodly style of the hearts. And we're just going to spray once and twice. And probably you could see I'm using different directions when I spray, because then the pattern looks a little bit more random and it like not so directional. And I don't think I'm going to add the warm lipstick because I want just a subtle pattern here. Oops. I'm going to put this on the side for now. And I did this now also because while I cut the card base and the image, the oxide hopefully will dry. I'm looking for my distress sprayer to clean the stencil, but it's not so urgent because this isn't like texture paste or anything like that. Cleaning my surface with my microfiber cloth, and this glass mat is great. This is the one that came out like before the black one by Studios. This is also Batonic Studios, and I mean either will be great. It's having this glass surface to work on is fantastic. Yeah, the background is pretty cool, I agree, and you saw it was so easy, right? Like you put a stencil, you spray a couple, like a bit of Distress Oxide spray, and it's done. Now I'm going to create my card base, and I think I'm just gonna leave it white. So I'm die cutting this cardstock here. This is Watercolour cardstock by Spectrum Noir, and I like it for techniques like this one, like ink blending, mixed media techniques, because it holds up well, and I like the fact that it's bright white. So for example, Canson XL Watercolour cardstock, I find it quite nice for watercoloring. I haven't tried the Arches ones, the very expensive cotton watercolor cardstock, so I cannot really compare with that. But it's off-white, so like if for mixed media techniques I can use this bright white cardstock by Spectrum Noir, I'll do that. Just a second, I'm running everything through the die cutting machine again. There you go. didn't cut. That's not the dies, it's because my cutting plates are pretty warped, so I should get new ones, but maybe some other time. Anyway, so this is how the card base will look, I think. At this point I'm not touching it, and I am going to cut my image. But first I'm going to trim the sentiment. So so when I stamped it, I had planned to have the card like this, right? I had planned for this to be the card, so that's why the sentiment is so close to the image. But it's fine, it's not too close. Okay, that's the sentiment strip. I'm gonna keep this. I keep all the tiny scraps of paper, like to the point where it's pointless, but I still do. I can't. To cut the image, I'm using Cutter B scissors. These are great and they are very sharp. When you don't have glue on them, it's even better. And yeah, they're very precise. They're my favorite scissors. Like, I have to admit, I don't love fussy cutting. I don't mind it, but I'm not one of like those people who like love it and find it relaxing. It's not like that for me. And actually I used to positively not like it when I started card making, but then I found these scissors and it made it so much easier. Like my hands don't get tired, don't cramp up, because they're very sharp. And yeah, so this is another nice tool to have. I'm going to cut this as if it's like a die cut, so I'm leaving a little bit of a border, and I am keeping the hand where I have the scissors straight and rotating the paper as much as I can. And I'm trying not to do this a lot as I move the paper. Like, I'm trying to, like, I open the scissor, I close them, I rotate the paper, and I keep closing the scissors. And this way the edge is not too ragged. Yes, I see there aren't big fans of fussy cutting here. Yeah, I know, it's not like dies make it so much easier, don't they, and so much faster. But sometimes like this, like you have a Digi, either you fussy cut it or you use like an electronic cutting machine, but it wouldn't really work with the live. So for example here, I don't think I'm going to cut this part on the inside. You forgive me, right? Antonella, yeah, you're right. Like, I know you hate fussy cutting. I thought it was pretty brilliant when Tim Holtz came out with those left-handed scissors, because I know that especially left-handed people do not like fussy cutting, because I don't know exactly how and why, but like scissors are usually designed for right-handed people and they're very uncomfortable. I'm so precise. It's the camera, you guys. It's the camera. Like if you look from up close, it's not that precise. But you have to say, before the dragon. Yeah, well, I haven't got to the horns yet, Laura. So let's see. Let's not, you know, count our chickens. That's how you say it, right? Okay, so here I'm trimming out the excess cardstock, which is getting in the way. And I don't have them here, but when I am tidy, just a second, when I am tidy, like I use these little bows on my desk, and that's where I like throw the scraps of paper. So anyway, like the little scraps of paper, or I usually have two. Well, usually when I'm tidy I have two, and I have one for scraps and one for like little die cuts and things I need to use later on during the card making process. Okay, so these parts here are a little bit more. But I mean, after all, okay, maybe the horns will be a challenge, we'll see. We're almost there. But although it does look intricate, the shapes aren't that bad. There is much worse to fussy cut. Trying to read your guys' comments. And by the way, thank you so much, you guys, for sticking with me like all this time. I wasn't sure how this would go. Like, as I said, it was the first time, and yeah, I'm really glad you guys are staying around. Thank you. What is the time where you're at? Here it's 8:30 p.m. So I guess dinner tonight is gonna be a frozen pizza, which goes against my Italian blood, but what can you do? Laziness wins over principles. Yeah, okay, Laura, one horn has survived. Let's see what about the other one. Antonella, I'm not. I promise, I will put this close up to the camera, you will see. And you know, like you can see, like I'm doing it slow, right? And so how can I say, sorry, lost for words. The point is, like, it does look precise, maybe like you guys are all saying this, right? But if you look it up close, like, it isn't super precise, but it doesn't matter, because in the end the overall result will still be nice. The eye will not linger too much on that little bit of card that wasn't of cardstock that wasn't cut super precisely, on the fact that here, for example, I don't have the same space that I have here, because the overall result is what matters. And again, like, the attention will not be drawn towards these small details. So if you really have to fussy cut and have no choice, don't fuss too much about being super neat. Frozen pizza from a Roman. Oh my god, Antonella. No, well, I'm not making it myself tonight. Yeah, guys, I'm sorry. Like, I've been away from Italy for 10 years. I'm allowed a little bit of frozen pizzas every once in a while. At least it's not a Hawaii pizza. I don't know what your stand is on a Hawaii pizza, but the consensus is pretty, like, you know, in Italy we all have one opinion about it. Anyway, let's not, you know, end up talking about cliches. Alright, we're almost there. I am kind of tempted to go inside with, like, these little openings with the craft knife, but I don't want to make this too boring for you guys. But I am tempted. Pizza with potatoes and rosemary, Didi. It's very nice. I'm sorry, guys. You have to bear with me. I have to do it. I'm going to ruin it now. Probably. And then I will not have a picture for the thumbnail. The drama. Anyway, using this knife, this is by Fiskars. I saw it on, again, on Vicky from Clip and Cuts. Like, she used clips and cuts. She uses it a lot, and it's pretty nice. Like, I like how, you know, this way of holding it. I'm sorry, guys, for the scratch on my hand. I don't know what happened, and I have nothing to clean it right now. I hope it doesn't bother you too much. What am I doing? I am cutting the inside of the these white areas, Antonella. Did I scare you? I'm not cutting the dragon. He's safe, almost. Yeah, Vicky is awesome. Vicky is awesome. I love it. Like, actually these days I've found it so soothing to binge watch her art journaling videos, waiting for mine to come. And no, it's not because of mine, it's just because I love her. Like, I think she's the very first card maker I stumbled upon on YouTube because of her art journals, because I was watching like other types of crafting videos, and like her channel popped up, and then I started watching her art journaling videos. I then started watching her card making videos, so then YouTube started suggesting to me like Jennifer McGuire, Nicole Spohr, whom I adore, Christina Werner, and all, you know, the big names. Sorry, I hope I'm not fussing too much. This is, I'm sorry. I'm like super fussy when it comes to these kind of things. Like now I am upset because because the distance here is not the same, but we know, for the sake of the fact that you're spending your time with me, I will spare you the pain. Like usually I can edit these things out, right? when I record the videos, but right now I have to be efficient. Anyway, like in principle, like the best way I find to use a craft knife is not to do what I'm doing, which is pressing from the get-go, but to do it lightly, because you have a little bit more control on the shape you're cutting. Also, if you pull it like I just did, you're gonna get these fussy edges. But as I said, once the card is done, this will be small details. Oh, nice, Didi. Oh, Justine is great too, and she's very generous. Like, she's been organizing this Save the Crafty YouTuber video hop. It started when a YouTuber changed the monetization of like rules. So before you needed to have, I think, 10,000 views, 100,000, like 100,000 views, I don't remember. And then they changed it to 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours in a year. So a lot of people who had just started monetizing their channels lost the ability to do that. And I for example was just about to get to the, you know, the previous threshold, and then they changed it, so I was like, oh no, bummer. And she set up this great hub to help the creators out, and to help the smaller channels to get more visibility. Like, obviously it's great for viewers because you find new channels that hopefully you like. So yeah, Justine is really great. And she has these videos where, you know, she shows like multiple techniques or multiple ways to use a technique on cards, which are great too, and yeah, great value I find. And Nicole Spohr I love because I love the style of her cards. She uses all those cute critters that I absolutely adore. So yeah, I've been watching Vicky's videos, binge watching them before bed on my iPad. It's been nice. And yeah, I can't wait to get into my art journal. Okay, this is the last bit, I promise, I'm sorry. Top right behind that. Ah, yes, I'm removing that too. Sorry, Maddalena. I didn't understand that first, but yeah. So we are removing this part, and yeah, we can move on and glue everything together. I don't want this card to be over, guys. It's so nice to be here with you. Yeah, she is, Digi. She moved there basically when I moved out. It would have been cool to maybe meet, I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know where she is actually and how far it is from where I was. So today I'm playing it safe and I'm using Nuvo Deluxe Adhesive to adhere my background, yeah, on the card front. And what is difficult, Antonella? Like the craft knife thing or what? Corin, hi, nice to meet you. Well, to meet you. Nice having you here. How are you? Thanks, Didi. It's a lovely time for me to be here. We should, like, I'll do this again. Nice to hear you're good, Corin. Alright, so adhere the background on the card base using Nuvo Deluxe Adhesive. I always say it, I like to use liquid glue so I can be precise, even if I'm not. Our dragon will go here and our sentiment will go here. Corin is another great YouTuber, she is amazing. Corin, we were talking about our favorite artists on YouTube, and I was telling people how I found out about card making, which was through Vicky from Clip and Cuts, through her art journaling videos, and yeah. Oh, Magdalena, I'm happy like you printed out the digits. It's really fun and it was nice. It's nice that all these companies are offering, you know, free free stamps or discounted stamps. Or I know that MFT has released the nurse and doctor images as digital freebies on their website. So like, it's always great to see how this community comes together. Yeah, it's a fun one, Corin, it is. Alright, so, okay, let's lift the head of the dragon. I got distracted a little here with the chatting. Nice, Antonella, to know that you found out about Corin through me somehow. I think she's great. She's a great card maker and her videos are top notch. Alright, let's eyeball this sentiment, overlapping it with the dragon because it creates a little bit of interest. It's just what I think. Okay, should we add some bling or should we call it a day? You guys, I'm never gonna leave you alone. I'm staying here until midnight, adding things to the card so that I don't have to close the live. Bling. So scrapbook.com, glitter brush pen, super sparkly. I love it. It's my new favorite. I don't know if you can see it against the light. Anyway, add a little bit of sparkle to the horns and to the toilet paper because it is like a jewel these days, as we were saying before, right? Bling bling. So with this ink, oh no, oh my god, I was thinking that I had stamped this with my Spectrum Noir ink, which is great for alcohol markers, but I find that it does sometimes bleed a little with certain glitter brush pens, so I was trying to be careful not to go over these lines, but I don't have to because I printed this with my inkjet printer. Alright, glitter. Can you see it at all, guys? And then, yes, a bit of jewels and a little bit of white gel pen accents here and there. What do you say? Just a little bit. well, let's see about that just a little bit, because I can already feel myself not wanting to stop adding these little highlights. But I find them fun. I don't always add them because, I don't know, sometimes I want to go for a more quote-unquote realistic look. Like, this makes things look shiny in a way, right? So I don't always use it, but today I feel like it, also because I think it creates a nice contrast here. And I always just like add a little line and a dot. And I don't remember, like, this isn't, like, I've seen this from somebody, but I don't remember whom. Like, this way of adding the highlights with the dot. Yeah, this is a free digital stamp by Whimsy Stamps. It's available on their website to download for free and print. And I'm pretty sure it should be already linked in the description box down below. Yeah, I just checked. It's the first link you find if you open up the description box. It's to the Digi. And yeah, there is actually a bunch of them that they released. Like, this here is not very visible that I'm doing on the toilet paper, so I'm going to stop. And then a little bit of bling. And okay, let's see the bling. I think I'm just not very sure, oopsie, whether to use pink for my jewels or find something more like teal and green. I want to use crystals. Of that I'm sure. Do you guys have a suggestion about the color of the crystals? Whether it should be teal? I'm just trying to see if I have something a little bit teal and green. Yes, okay, teal and green it is. These, probably you know them, these trays are by Elizabeth Crafts. They're really great to store sequins, jewels and all the bling. And then I like to use, sorry, and drop. And then I like to use these triangle trays. I will have a list of all the products that I used once the live is done. I will link them all in the description box down below. So I like to use the triangle trays to pour in my jewels or sequins or whatever. Because then I can pick them up easily, so we will not be using these. And then I have my wand, which I really love, my embellishment wand by Studio Katia. So I can start playing around with the placement of my sequins. No, these are crystals. Yes, Studio Katia is awesome. She makes the best embellishments. I love the pearls as well. I love the crystals. I love the pearls that are kind of a recent addition to the store. Yeah, they are really pretty. Sorry for me singing. So let's do it like this, like a visual triangle of some sort. And I always like just play around with the placement of the embellishments before gluing them down. I want an iridescent one for the teal here. So these are crystal mixes, and you have them, there's like matte ones, these ones that are more shiny, and then you have also some transparent ones, but we are going for shine today. You can use this other tip to kind of move your embellishments around, and I think I like it this way. Yeah, I think I like it. Alright, so like one of the reasons also I like these trays is that when I'm done, I can just do this and done. and it's very easy. Very easy. And I don't show these things in my videos. I always edit them out, but maybe they are also interesting parts. Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. And it's so easy to use this one. Like, I don't know how it works, because you pick them up and they come up so easily, you see? Like, they're not coming off, but then you put a dab of glue, you place them back down and they release immediately. Like, I don't know what kind of sorcery is that, but it's great. Do you guys have this tool, or do you guys have a favorite embellishment tool? Alright. Okay, so this is the card. You can obviously add. You do, Corin. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, it's fun to work with this wand. Alright, so this is the card. As I was saying, we can obviously adhere it to a card base. We don't have to do it right now, I don't think, but yeah. It's an A2 size, so 5.5 by 4.25. And yeah, I think that's it then for this live. I thank you all so much for joining me. It was really fun to create with you and to chat. Thanks, Corin. I'm glad you liked the card. I think it's a fun one. I like it too, I have to say. And again, I will love to do this again with you guys if you are up for it. So let me know. Have a good day, evening, night. All of you, stay safe, and I'll catch you guys very soon. Big hugs, everyone. Well, I'm saying bye, but I don't know how to stop the video. Okay, that's part of the life. This is part of the learning curve. Corin, you have done videos before. How do I turn it off? Good night, you guys. Right? All the mess ups that you cannot hide with editing, right? All right, well, I figured it out, guys. So nice being with you.